What's going on, guys? It's me, Train Man, and here we are, Blindside Bluff, where we left off, just about. We are doing the track work and the underlying ground for said track work. In the next 20 minutes or so of video, I am home by now. Long since been. So of course this is the kind of video where it was done a while before you guys see it. Now ideally this is how it would be all the time, but I'm too lazy to keep up with that kind of production schedule, so I just kind of let it slide until the last minute and then I start panicking, which is why there isn't going to be Space Engineers this week, I don't think, unfortunately. I mean, that is equal parts TBA just couldn't make it, but I have done plenty of work. You guys had the piracy video last week, which was just as last minute. So, here we go, building out our rails at Blindside Bluff. We, of course, are playing with the level of difficulty that is, don't adjust the track, adjust the underlying ground, and of course it's going to make for real bumpy track, and just kind of, not well done, so that when the trains are going over it, they're kind of, wobbling back and forth or bumping up and down. It's going to take a lot of fine-tuning to get it not insane, but it's just kind of me going for the busted-up trackage that this really is kind of representative of. So now I come in to build the switchback, I think. Yeah. I keep zooming out to see exactly where I'm going, because I'm trying to keep in that middle sort of tile section where we don't have to add more tiles to the edges, because the plan did not call for that. So we're coming back here. A very odd switchback, but we're going to be building ground contours to it. You're going to see how weird it looks in just a minute. The way it's being done is I am just basically coming under it and raising the ground. And it makes it look god-awful at first and just kind of amateur in French. But in the end, well, frankly, I'm not sure how it'll look. It's my first time doing something like this, and obviously it's not a good idea. It's just something that I wanted to do. So we've got, raising this up, and of course, I keep this grades window open just about the whole time. And you guys will see me pulling it out to look at it, or just kind of shifting it around, getting rid of it, and then realizing I didn't want to get rid of it, and then putting it back. But it's all the same deal. It's all me just coming up and lifting the track to where it needs to be, and then using our multitude of terrain tools to kind of keep it sane, I guess is the right word. Now, I'm building out around our trackage here, because of course it isn't sitting on a single berm in the middle of nothing. We're not gone with a specific terrain style here, but I was kind of figuring which way I wanted the valley's edge to slope. We're not in a valley, we're not on a river. Well, we're sort of in a valley and we're sort of on a river, but that wasn't what I was really going for. We're just using the switchback to gain elevation and get out of here. The way I was designing it would be so that we wouldn't be... what's the word? We wouldn't be so building up in a specific area and then building the terrain around that. It's, if you notice, I went and shifted around the spline points to make it, make more sense with the terrain we're hitting. And that's precisely what I mean to do, and we're going to have a lot of these wiggles, I guess. We're going to have a lot of what I guess you would think of as wonky track formations. But of course, taking the path of least resistance, that's why they exist in the way they do. Now, in the end, I'm never sure if it was a really good idea to kind of start out like this, or if I should have just done it the regular way anyways. I couldn't tell you either way. And until it's done and we get the finished product, I don't know if I'm going to say screw it and go over with the spline elevation tool and the raise ground height to track height tool to just sort of put everything on an even footing and make sure we don't have any delinquent stretches of track, which shouldn't be the way they are. We already made a pretty serious cut, which you'll see towards the end of the video here. It wasn't intended to be a cut. It was just me adjusting the track to make the, or adjusting the ground to make the track's gradient sane. The max gradient for this is supposed to be 2%, but of course I can't test it because the engines, if we take the Garretts for example, the Garretts are crazy OP. They jump to light speed. The Baldwins, I'm still trying to work those out. But the Forney doesn't even work at all. So that's a problem. I'm trying to get the SRRL number 1 Forney to work because that's our representative of a character by the name of Sandy. And the Baldwin 15 262 is representative of a character called Rangeley. Unsurprisingly, with the naming there, you can see where it came from. And while Rangeley, while Rangeley works just fine in DCC mode, and I don't know how he works in cab mode, but it's alright. It's not appalling, if I recall correctly. He really just needs to work in DCC mode, because that's probably what we're going to be using for filming, so that we don't have any screw-ups on set. But Sandy has a problem where the DCC on Sandy is really wonky, and it's the sort of jam to a start, jam to a stop that you'd honestly expect out of DCC, but it's not something I want to be seeing. And of course, since the AI runs in DCC mode, that presents a unique set of problems. By a unique set of problems, I mean it presents the problem that Sandy is going to look really, really wonky when she's driving around, if we ever have those characters driving around at all. That might be our limiting factor. Might have to have something else pulling those trains. Keep Sandy out of frame. Also, no. The other level of difficulty with that engine is there aren't any engine sounds for it, so even when you get it moving, it doesn't make a noise. I think it may just be that the engine itself is very broken, but nonetheless, I've been trying to fiddle with different engine specs and see if I can get something worthwhile out of that and get the darn thing to work, because that'd just be great now, wouldn't it? I don't want to use number 5. As nice as number 5 looks, it's just not the same engine, and I don't know. It doesn't have the sort of character that I was looking for. It doesn't have the, I guess it's cutesy. Okay, so here we are in the second clip. And of course, the character, Sandy, isn't designed to be cutesy in any remark. They're an old couple. And they're really sort of, I don't know what the word would be. They're really sort of careless. Not careless as in the bad sort of careless, but careless as in they don't have a care in the world. The world could end tomorrow and they'd be just as happy as they are today. They're always making jokes, they're always, and these can be pretty, self-deprecating jokes. One, if I recall, that Weibold and I were thinking of was something about, oh, when I grow up, when I get scrapped, I want to get turned into a soda can. Oh, why is that? And punchline. Of course, we didn't get very far with that joke, but it conveys the gist of what these characters are and how they think, and just really how much they don't care. We have this whole thing planned with the teacher at the school, which is right next to the engine houses can overhear them just cracking jokes and laughing all day long when they're back at the engine shed, and she will persistently come out and chastise them for interrupting her class. So we have one of our recurring human characters right there. That probably isn't going to get much development in the end, because it's just a sort of way to quiet them down from time to time. I'm sure the scene in the schoolhouse would be these kids, like, leaning out the windows, looking at Sandy and Rangeley, and Lee, of course. You know, Sandy and Rangeley making their jokes, and Lee just sort of brushing them off and telling them to behave, and then the teacher comes out and yells at them. And she instructs all her students to get back to work. Come on, you've got to learn. So we're plateauing an area here. And this is to raise the base height to the lowest height I will be working in, so that when I'm making the mountains like this, I don't have to raise it up to that height every time. It creates grooves, which is not something I want to do, but it'll be easily covered with forest. And in areas where it's important, I can use the plateau tool to kind of work that out. So I went and looked in the Content Manager just now. The Fornies are not obsolete, but I will look. Let me go in the Content Manager and see what kind of engines we do have for a 2-foot gauge, because honestly I want to test it out. It occurs to me that Russell would be a good test, because, well, Russell is a pretty hardy engine. Russell, the 262 I used formerly in the Timrose Vale and Anaconda Railway some time ago. So this is using a different method of training. This is kind of the, I just wanted to say, it's kind of the basic method that everyone starts to stick with right off the bat, and that doesn't mean it's bad. So what I'm doing is I'm really just using the tools that are granted for me, not doing anything real special, not rapidly clicking with the plateau tool in most cases. Just kind of moving the brush around and creating these hills. Of course, it takes a little bit of experience, I guess, to know how to do it right, but it doesn't make it by any means a bad technique. So I'm going to scroll down. I typed in 2 foot. We're going to scroll down to engines down at the bottom. Boxcar 2. That's not... Oh, no, that's not what I want. Alright, so I have the... What is this? I'm just looking for other stuff that's 2 foot. I love it. I love this. Okay, I'm getting this. Download. We'll definitely use you. There's a picture of someone using number 1 in here. They're probably using it in DCC mode. Alright, so we've got a truss now. And we didn't find what I wanted to find here. Together we stand. Alright, so I'm just going through different search terms here and seeing what we find. So here's the cut that I was talking about. We're coming up on building it pretty soon, because if you notice, the gradients here are really obnoxious. Oh, we've got junctions, like with frogs and everything. That'd be kind of cool. Alright, I'm going down to the bottom here. We've got tracks, we've got bridge supports buffer. We've got a buffer. What are you? We've got crossing boards. I could use you. If I could see the... Oh yeah, no, definitely, I want you. I want you. QLD 2 foot rail and 1. No, I'm not doing that. CSX 2 foot pipe. No, okay. Oh, what are all you? FR Linda. Oh my god, there are all these adorable little engines. I just wish there was more main stuff. Linda, PQR Linda, PQR Charles. Oh, they're all kind of adorable. We've got all the WHR Russells. Man, there are a lot of different kinds. 2-foot coaches. You know, if I wasn't going with the main narrow gauge stuff here, this would be amazing. Now we're into 52-foot stuff. $1 million boxcar. That's quite a boxcar. I mean, I could definitely use a lot of these. 2-foot gauge Pacific. That's quite an engine. Wow. You know, I wonder how these are. I really just want to download all of them because, frankly, it's awesome. It's a 52-foot boxcar. I'd love to just set this overnight and, you know, just let it run because that'd be amazing. To have all this 2-foot stock. So here I'm looking at the map again. Anyways, not finding what I'm looking for. We're getting towards the end of the episode here, of course. I was running out of things to do. I'm building this up. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it, where to wrap it around. I decided that a bridge would be a good idea right here. The thing with building the track, or the thing with doing this, I should say, is you're still building the terrain to the track. So you end up, in a lot of cases, with, you end up with boring track, where you don't have, you either don't have embankments, you don't have cuts, you don't have bridges or tunnels or anything like that, because you have to plan them ahead of time if you're going to do that. But this is the way it is right now. We've got that bridge, and that's where we're going to leave off pretty much. Come over here and do some mountaining work. But that's about it. Now this video is, this is an odd situation because I have to get it ready for processing before I make this post-commentary, which is, of course, what I've done right now. So it's ready for post-processing, but I need to, at the same time, process the terminus and have it done in the morning. So that means either I'm going to have two things processing at once, or I'm going to have to wait up for this one, which I think what I'm going to do is, actually, I'm going to leave this open. Let me check and see. This thing is not using any significant portion of the CPU. So, it'll of course be done on time, but it won't be done immediately. So I hope you guys like what we've done today. We're getting there. We're working. We're about a third of the way there towards our destination. And I'll see you next week.